What's up, my Chaos crew? Here we go back, and if you're here, then you're here for the second part of my character tier list for Season 13. So, in the last video, I did all the heroes. I had enough time to knock out all the heroes, because, man, there are just so many heroes in this game. But since we only have the villains left to do, it shouldn't take super long. First one up is Strike Shigaraki, which I had to put this guy at A tier. Now, with this guy, it was interesting, because I've seen some people, rank him lower, like B tier and stuff like that, which I feel like in the past made sense, but now, this guy is so freaking strong. Like, now reckon you have to go ahead and level him up. He does require higher levels, and that's probably why people ranked him lower, because his early game is not, it's not the best by any means, and I can agree with that. His early game is not super strong, but if you could play correctly, where like you have time to level up and at least get alpha maxed out and beta close to maxed out, this character is a devastating character to fight against. He has 350 HP, which I'm pretty sure I already know this. He has 2 special actions. Alpha, great damage. Beta, great for setup. And then his Gamma, it ignores shield. It attacks HP directly. And I haven't been able to do this recently. I think they might have secretly patched it. But you used to be able to do Gamma into special action and just do so much damage. If that's still possible, let me know in the comments. At least I haven't been able to do it recently. But this character just is insanely strong, and funny enough, I think it all revolves around his beta. If you can get his beta out, and you can combo beta into alpha, or you can do beta and go into gamma and ignore their get that ignore their GP immediately. It's like, forget your GP. I don't care about none of that. I want your HP. Like this guy is really, really good. And then not to mention endgame, he dominates endgame. Like if you leave this guy alive to an endgame, and I'm playing him or something like that, I don't blame you guys for focusing me. I may rant about it, I may rage about it in the middle of the game. Like, oh, why am I getting jumped? I'm playing Shigaraki and it's end circle. This guy dominates, and that's his strongest point in time in the match. He just dominates. This is a very strong character. In the past, I used to think this character needed a buff where he needs his alpha should be able to reach aerial characters because the decay is coming off the ground, and the particles hit people in the air. Don't touch his character. Leave him alone. Any more buffs to him would make him an S tier character. I feel like it may sound like I'm glazing, but I genuinely think that's the truth. Do not do that to this character. Just let him stay as the grounded king. All right, this guy is just an absolute nightmare to fight against on the ground. And even aerial characters, they have to deal with him now because the way they changed reload speed in this game for a lot of the characters in the air, they have to touch the ground to reload their skills, or they have to touch the ground to heal. That's the perfect time for this guy to go and catch them slipping. One touch is all he needs, it feels like, and it's GG's. So with that being said, I couldn't put him in S tier, that's too high, but I think A tier is a very good place to put him at, considering everything that this character is capable of. Now, for his assault counterpart, I would also say he is a A-tier pick as well. And now with this one, I was deciding, I didn't mean to click on him. This one I was deciding because I have my gripes with this character, mainly just due to slice of life, survivability upgrades is what I really want to give this guy. But damage-wise, this guy shreds in a 1v1. He really does. Like if you can land his gamma beta gamma combo, you're doing so much damage to him. And then if you spread some alphas in there, which can be very difficult to dodge because of their fan-like shape, yeah, this guy can shred, especially in a 1v1 scenario. Now, his weakness would be obviously in scenarios where a full team is attacking him. Or maybe if someone has armor and they can activate the armor skill before he can get his gamma off to stun them. But if you can get off your combo, this guy absolutely shreds. He has some great offensive power. I just think that personally, if it was me, this guy could use, some hyper armor on one of his skills. I would say maybe beta. I don't know if he'd really give it to his gamma because he is moving in motion with that. So I don't know if, he should have it on his gamma. But giving him armor on one of his hyper armor on one of his skills, I don't think would be a bad idea. I think that's really the main thing I would change. I don't think he needs more HP because he does have pretty good movement, I feel like, and he's an assault type, so he's already taking less damage as is. But this character is still really, really strong, despite my very few, critiques about the character. He's still a very strong character. So I figured a great spot to go put him would go ahead and be A tier. So I believe my next character is, let's see. Yep, All For One. I had to be sure it was All For One. I was looking around. Yeah, All For One. Hey, bud. I put this character in A tier. Now with this character, I was very. I couldn't decide at first. I was like, should I put this guy in B tier or A tier? And some of you guys might be thinking like, what? Why would you put him in B tier? Because it's like, he's a character that you could argue is situational. Not counting his special action, and I'll get that in a second. Alpha, very strong, especially if you can get the full charge on it. Like, all his skills allow him to control the battlefield very well. His Gamma, be able to push and pull people in and out, and, you know, it allows him to get in great damage into his Beta and Alpha, which, again, his Beta can go through walls, so you can literally use corners and stuff to your advantage and just really annoy somebody. His Alpha, like I said, already strong. The full charge version, very strong. Also covers a wide area as well if you can get the full charge off on it. So this character, he has some really good skills, I feel like. The reason why I feel like the reason why I consider putting him in B tier is because each of the, I say his Beta and his Gamma can get him shredded. It can get him absolutely shredded in a match. Now, reckon, you know, you can say it's a skill thing, or, you know, you want to make sure you're in the right place when using his Gamma, but, like, if you're out in the open, or if you're in an area where there's a lot of enemies nearby and you do either of these skills, they're going to melt you. Like, I was even tempting saying, like, does he need some damage reduction or something on one of these skills? Like, that's something I thought about, I'll be honest. But then again, the guy does have, like, what, 350 HP? No, he has 400. He has 400 HP. So then again, it's like, maybe that's not the best move of having so much HP. But then again, I wouldn't be against it personally. I would be willing to at least try it out and see how that feels. But with that in mind, it's like when I consider everything in mind, and I know you can do combos like, you know, Gamma to Beta to Alpha Beta, or Gamma into full charge Alpha. I know there's combos with this guy, or maybe you want to do the push out Gamma into an Alpha. I know he has combo potential and stuff like that, but I still feel like nonetheless this guy can get shredded very easily if you're not careful. Thank goodness he has 400 HP. It makes it a little bit harder. Now, here's what made me decide to put him in A tier. His special action, Plunder. His special action, once I took that into consideration, I was like, no, I had to put this guy in A tier, because this special action of his allows him to make up for that lack of, you know, I guess versatility, I would say, and make it where, you know, he's much more threatening on the battlefield, besides his attacks being able to go and cover large areas, and he can control the battlefield that way. If you give this guy a rapid skill set like Froppy, Mirio, Ida, or One for All Deku, he becomes one of the hardest characters to kill, I feel like. And even if you don't give him a rapid skill set, as long as you give him somebody with decent mobility, this guy is very hard to take down. And even if you don't do that, if you know how to combine another character's quirk skill set with his current quirk skill set right here, this guy can still do wonders for the team. He could still dominate as the Demon Lord himself. Like, he's still very strong. Now, I'm All For One. Hey, buddy. Now, don't come after me, but like, let me finish my introduction. I'm trying to hype you up, bro. Let me hype you up. But no, when it comes to All For One, though, I feel like that, like, when you consider his special action, yes, he is going to be an A tier pick. The only thing I would change about his special line, I would say, is, funny enough, it might be similar to Monoma. And this might sound crazy. His special action levels, the quirk skill levels that he get from his opponents, shouldn't be based off his opponents. It should be based off his own quirk skill levels. Like, does that sound crazy? Because, like, they do that with Monoma. The way his special action works, I know his is slightly different and everything, but, like, with him, his levels depends on what levels his quirk skills are. Can't we do the same thing for All For One? I think that'd be a nice, you know, change of life type thing for him. Just make it where instead of it being dependent on his opponent's quirk skill levels, make it where it depends on his quirk skill levels. So, like, let's say somebody could be like a level 1 Shigaraki. If this guy's like has like, you know, level 6 and 7 Beta, Gamma, or Alpha, whatever, he should get those levels, I feel like. Now, that may sound crazy, but that's just my thought process on it. But I think that's probably the only thing I really, you know, the only two changes I would, you know, think about maybe adding to this guy. You know, special action, make it where it's based off his quirk skill levels and not his opponents. And then I wouldn't be opposed to trying to see how Hyper Armor would look on one of these skills. Besides that, when you consider this character's entire kit, he's an A tier pick. He has to be, I feel like. Me putting him in B tier almost feels disrespectful to the Demon Lord. I'm sorry, All For One. I need to play you more, to be honest. Now, let's get on over to his young self. The young Demon Lord. Let's talk about this guy. I feel like he's A tier. and for some people that may sound crazy because this guy can be mad oppressive on the field. But to be perfectly honest with you guys, he almost feels situational. Does that make sense? Because like take his alpha and beta for an example. If you do not know how to land these skills, you're gonna get very minimal damage out of these skills. I think that's just the truth. If you don't know how to get the pierce and the AoE on his alpha, you're only getting like 40 damage per alpha. If you don't know how to properly line up his meteors on his beta, you're only getting like 70, maybe 110 damage out of it. But that's still pretty solid, to be honest. And then his giant meteor, the actual meteor itself, it's not hard to dodge this skill. It's one of those things where like it's like Yaoyorozu cannons. You have to prep it ahead of time for it to go ahead and do big work, big damage. You know what I mean? And then his gamma. When it comes to his gamma, it might be his best skill because it gives him damage reduction, increased knockdown, so it's much harder to knock him out of his gamma. And then if you're shooting your crumbling orb while you're charging your divine judgment, you're keeping your opponent locked down. You're catching their wake ups. You're keeping them locked down until your divine judgment is ready. And then by that point, if they're not taking cover, you're just getting shredded by that move. You really are. I think if I had to make maybe any changes to this character, I wouldn't nerf him. I don't think any nerfs are needed for this guy. Oh, his special action is very great, by the way. I should mention that. Being able to fly and be able to steal people's special actions, that is really strong. I should mention that. But if I had to make any changes to this guy, it'd be one change. Maybe allow one of his skills, like Divine Judgment or his Meteor, to more effectively go through walls. I think that might be the only change I would make for All For One. Because all you would have to do against All For One, if you take cover, or let's say like you're in endgame and you have a lot of buildings to go and hide at, it's very hard for this character to capitalize on that. So I feel like to make it where one of his skills could maybe go through walls, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But besides that, the character's fine. He's strong, but he has weaknesses you can exploit. So I say this guy is just a super strong pick. Arguably situational, depending on the circumstance. I would have to put him in A tier. So, with that being said, let's hop on over to our next character, which is Tech Dabi. Tech Dabi, my boy. The original. I gotta put this guy in C. Now, people have been telling me, well, this guy, he feels like he's a part of the meta now and everything. And I'm not gonna say he isn't better, just with how aggressive a lot of the more meta characters are right now. I still feel like he has the same issues, I feel like. And what I mean by that is that this guy, it's not super hard to pressure a Tech Dabi. Like, the only time you're getting caught by a Tech Dabi is if like you're overextending too much, and that becomes more of a personal issue, a skill issue, arguably. That becomes more of a personal issue. It's not super hard to pressure a Tech Dabi, it feels like. And with that in mind, I feel like they should really consider maybe, doing a little bit of rework on a couple of his skills. Special action, now, special action, you can say, is a bit questionable. I don't really think it needs a lot of touches, honestly. There are two like inputs that he has with his special action. He has one that does instantaneous damage, and then he has one that does damage over time. Whichever one we're gonna go with, I need them to pick just one or the other. It don't need to be able to do both. Just give us one or the other. Either a super big knockback that does big damage, or a large amount of damage over a certain period of time. You know what I mean? At least that's my thoughts. I also wouldn't be opposed to the idea if they go with that second option, making it do damage over time. Maybe making it tick a little bit faster so it gets opponents off of you quicker. That would be better. Besides that, I think it's fine that he has to be fully laying down untouched to get the revive off, because he can literally self-revive. And I'm not trying to count tuning, but you could also use tuning to get a free revive off anyways, just so you guys know. His alpha, I think that the damage on it could use a small buff, but more importantly, I wouldn't be opposed to them increasing the speed on his alpha just a little bit. If I had to be honest with you guys, I wouldn't be opposed to it. His beta, I think his beta's fine. The traps, they can be used as shields, and if not that, you can use them to get seeking some damage. Because if you're in the heat of battle, it's not super often that your opponent will be able to see it right out of nowhere and dodge a trap, accordingly. So I think his beta, not really bad. It does pretty good damage. I think it's fine. Now his Ring of Fire, his Gamma, I feel like maybe they should consider reworking that just a small bit. And this may sound crazy. I wouldn't be opposed to him doing one of two things. Reworking this Gamma to work similar to Endeavor Beta, like making it where it could trap people if they don't dodge it properly, or making it where instead of being like a ring of fire where like, you know, it just only covers his sides, making it where it could cover his head as well to cover him from aerial attacks. So it's more like a dome or a spear of fire, I guess you would call it. I think that would be a decent change for this character, but that's just my thoughts. These are things, and it may sound like wishful thinking, and it might make him too broken, but these are like little ideas I've thought of for Tech Dabi in terms of buffing him. Just that I hope that he sees, you know, some type of buff soon, because last time I checked, this guy haven't really got a buff since forever, it feels like. I could be wrong about that, but that's, you know, just my thoughts. So with that in mind, the character, he can still perform, but I cannot lie, I feel he needs some help. So I would have to put him in C tier, personally speaking. Now, let's get over to his strike counterpart, Crazy Torch. I love this guy, by the way. Can't stand fighting him sometimes, but I love this guy. He's an A tier pick. And the reason I put him in A tier, maybe some Rabbit players are probably raging at me like right now. Like, what do you mean A tier? That's this guy, oh my gosh. And don't get me wrong, I feel you on that. I totally feel on you. Trust me, I get it. They nerfed him forever ago, and it definitely knocked him down a peg, I feel like. Alpha still does great damage. Ready to know about his special action. I've said what I said about what I need to say about the special action. His beta, one of his strongest skills, no denying that. Especially when you activate his gamma, his beta it can shred a person. It really can. But it can also get you shredded at the exact same time because people see that beta in action and they think to immediately shoot the Dabi. Shoot the Dabi. And even if not the Dabi, they're probably thinking, shoot the Todoroki that's here in this photo, or whoever's in the place of this Todoroki. Shoot him down, and you're still taking the damage all the same. So it's like he can take a lot of damage just due to just, you know, his beta and the nature of it. His gamma is consuming his HP as he, you know, has it active. And I've seen some people, you know, in the past talk about like increasing how much HP it drains. Please don't do that. You will make this character arguably unplayable if you increase how much HP this thing takes. I think the HP that it takes is fine, because when you consider that with how much damage this guy is arguably taking thanks to his beta, and how even his gamma, if it, you know, depending on who's fighting him, it can leave him open for attacks when he explodes and his timer runs out. Yeah, it can leave this guy open to take some damage. Mind you, he has 350 HP. Like, I don't think this character needs any changes. Let me say that. He's a very strong pick still. I don't think he needs any changes really. Maybe besides my one little special action talk. No, sorry about that. I had to go and cover right there. So, back to what I was saying though. Yeah, his special action, I feel like you could make the same excuse as I made for Tech Dabi. Same thing. This character is still a very strong pick, I feel like, despite, you know, the small little things I mentioned about his openings and how his beta can get him destroyed. He's still a very strong pick, by the way. So it's like, I'm not putting him in S tier. I don't think he's that strong anymore. Now old Strike Dabi, different story. That was an S tier pick. He did insane damage on his gamma, the burst of it. You add that with his beta, you're doing like 300 damage per beta grab when you combine his gamma and alpha together. Or not gamma and alpha, gamma and beta together. And then, I don't know if they changed this at all, but Dabi's gamma used to just go absolutely insane. It used to go in like an overdrive mode in a sense. If you were in the storm, so when you grab somebody in the storm, you would just shred somebody's HP. I don't know if it still does that. If it does, you probably don't feel it as much anymore because the gamma just does overall less damage. So with that in mind, yeah, I would say this guy is a A tier pick. That's where I would put. That's where I would put Strike Dabi. I'm up here stuttering. This is what you get for talking for more than an entire hour back to back. You start fumbling your words. Next is Tech Toga, I believe, which I'm just making sure. Yep, Tech Toga is next. Hello, Toga. Yeah. I'm putting her in A tier as well, and the reason why, this character still does really, really well, despite the fact that, honestly, I'm surprised at the lack of Tech Toga. She's still a very strong character. Her alphas, if you can land her alphas shred. They do. Like, come on, let's be honest. They still do great damage if you can land your alphas. Her beta, this move used to annoy the mess out of me back in the older days of Ultra Rumble, because she has such a big hitbox on her beta. They had pretty good damage, very, very high damage, matter of fact, because they nerfed her damage a while back on her beta. And then if she keeps hitting a person while dashing, as it says in the move, hold to keep dashing. Dash range increases with each hit. She will continuously dash if she continues to swipe a person. So she's up here swiping you for like, at least back in the day, like 90, 100 damage each swipe, and she's going, and she's gonna keep going and going and going. And it's like, oh my gosh, can you leave me alone, you vampire? So no, her beta, despite the nerf to it, I think it's still very strong. It's great to use to finish a downed opponent if you're trying to finish somebody super quick. And then her gamma, I heard her gamma has like, it's kind of buggy now, but despite that, it's always had some insane tracking, at least when I fight this character. And then of course you can use it to go ahead and refresh her abilities, because all you gotta do is just, you know, take somebody's blood, turn into them, and then cancel it, and your abilities come back like they never had a cooldown in the first place. So this character is still a very strong pick, I feel like. And even if you didn't want to use Toga's special action that way, you can still use the kit of another character and do really well and make up your own combos. She has a similar thing like Monoma, where she can make her own combos with another character's quirk skill set and her own, if you know how to use her. So with that in mind, she is still a very strong pick. Is she as broken as she once was? No, but she's still super strong, I feel like. So A tier is great. It's perfect for her. Now, rapid S tier. And some of you guys may think that's a little crazy, but no, I think I have to put this this vampiric freaking monster, and she would kill me if she heard me say that in real life, if I was in the anime. She goes in S tier. This character still freaking shreds. Like, I know they nerfed her damage a while back, but it was so minuscule, it didn't matter. I'll be honest with you guys. This character and her kit is well designed. What can I say? Special action, same as Tech Toga. I don't even need to get in on that. The rest of her kit though, she has boomerang knives. Boomerang knives. You add that with her beta gamma combo, your shield's gone. Like, they made her a rapid, I get it, but this character might as well have been a strike character with how much damage potential she has. If you can get in a freaking, you know, Toga, hey, Toga, please keep holding back, pretty please. Don't stab within my vicinity. But Toga, like, oh my gosh, beta, wide hitbox, it's very difficult to miss, although for whatever reason, when I last played her, I missed it for whatever reason. If you can get her gamma into it, that's so much damage. And then a lot of good Toga players just do beta into alpha into gamma, and it's wraps. You're losing your shield, if not more, depending on whether they have tuning or not. Like, you guys probably see my tuning here. If you got this tuning build right here with this character, you don't even need the alpha, but you could do it just for extra salt in the wound, and it is not fun. It is not fun. Yeah, this character, S tier. I still think she is S tier, despite you know, her slight damage nerf in the past. Now, let's get over to my boy Twice. They did you dirty in anime, my boy. But you bro, I gotta put him in B tier. And the reason why, for some people that might be shocking even, I put him in B tier because this character did have a fall from grace. I'm not gonna lie. But I think it was deserved because this character was outputting so much damage. Like, before his combo nerf, I would honestly make the argument that he was doing stuff like these three that I mentioned in my last video, Kirishima, Kendo, and Shinzo, where he had so much good damage, but he was able to combo into it. And that may find this character just so insanely unfair, it felt like, a lot of times. Not to also mention the fact that, one, he has clones he can make to go and attack you, and two, his gamma used to have the most craziest hitboxes, but now they fixed it because that was based off, you know, FPS and everything. But due to all the nerfs and everything, I don't think I can really scale this guy any higher than a B. I think he can still perform, but you probably would like to go ahead and play more around his alpha and special actions, I would imagine. You can't sit up here and just gamma your way to victory with this character anymore. And I think that's good, because I saw it in so many Twice players in the past who literally would just gamma. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, do you know any other skill? He has two, three other skills you can use. But yeah, they would just spam gamma to their heart's content. I think that it is okay for him to not be able to just gamma his way to victory. I think that's fine. You can still do gamma in the melee, if I'm correct. You can still do gamma into beta, which I feel like can still give very reasonable damage. If you combine that with tuning, I feel like this character can definitely still put in some great work. But even without tuning, I still think that this character can put in work if you can play around his special action. But I guess that is a high I guess that is a high thing to ask of a person to play around his special action, which, you know, decent reload, has decent reload time, and you know, you have to down an opponent. So I think that's kind of fair. So with that in mind, I feel like he's a situational case, which is why I would go ahead and have to put this guy in B tier. With that being said, I believe next is Compress. I'm gonna be sure and look at this list here. Yes, Compress. This guy, it was hard to decide. It was so hard to decide because this guy, I would probably argue this is one of the characters that is really meta right now, and I should probably put him in S tier. But I chose to put him in A tier though, and I'm still thinking about it as I'm making this video because he's just doing so much now with the way the meta changed and how he got buffed recently. His special action, you don't have to be as close to your ally to revive them now, so he doesn't have to be in the heat of the battle to get you up, which is very good, by the way. His alpha, this thing is insane to fight against from time to time. If you have shield, say goodbye to it. Period. That's it. If you have shield, say goodbye to it. You have shield? No, you don't. No, you don't. If you have shield while this guy has like level 7 and above, or even lower levels, if he lands the lower levels, it keeps you in a staggered stun lock animation where you can't dodge. So you're forced to sit up here and get hit by the barrels, the rocks, or the trucks, depending on the levels, and you're losing your shield. That's the spirit. You're losing your shield. And it just makes it where this character is very difficult to fight against. Then his beta, although I don't see a lot of compressed players use it often enough, he reflects projectiles back at you, and they do more damage when he reflects them. So if he can time that with, like, let's say against Rapid All Might or Strike Deku or something, he's doing more damage to them with their own skills. So if he uses effectively, very hard to fight against. Because then you're going to try to go in for a melee or maybe going for a close range, you know, skill like a beta or a gamma or something, and he's going to have the trucks on standby to just shred you for trying to even approach him. Then we hop on over to his gamma, which is insane this season because they did the movement buff thing. You do his gamma with a melee, you're soaring. You're flying. You're flying better than Hawks. Like, you're no one's catching you. And if you have this at level 9, it's very hard to catch a compress. When you combine this and then his alphas that he can rank from above to once again stun lock you to a guaranteed guard break, this character is doing so much that honestly, if someone said, "Hey yo, I think you didn't rank this guy properly. I think he's S tier," I wouldn't be mad at it. This guy is so strong this season. He is so strong. I promise you, he's so strong. So I put him in A tier, at least for this ranking. But if you guys want to make your argument for S tier, I wouldn't blame you. I genuinely would not blame you. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop over to Kurogiri, which I also put him in A tier. The reason why I put him in A tier is mainly because I think he has some very good value. I feel like I was thinking he might have been a B tier pick for me, honestly, but I feel like that was under ranking him though, because like he has his beta combo, which can just shred your opponent's HP, but the trade-off for that though as well is that his beta is his main source of movement. So it's like, it's like there's a trade-off with that for getting that high damage. But even if you didn't want to do that, another thing that made me consider it was his gamma and his special action. His alpha, at least to my knowledge, doesn't do a whole lot of damage. It's hard to get a lot of damage out of it. So I was like, okay, it's okay. It's really his gamma that made me consider putting him in A tier, and his special action, of course. With his gamma, you could hide somewhere safe and use his gamma to attack people from a safe, location. And if you want to, you can even use this gamma and then go into a beta to start your beta combo, or use your beta to send somebody all the way out the map, which I've had a Kurogiri do to me before. Not fun, sitting in the storm and just thinking to myself like, why did I let him throw me out here like this? But no, I think that this guy is probably, I think he's a solid, he's a strong pick. He's a solid A tier pick. And then his special action, literally, yeah, look, it literally says it right here. Bailout warps a down ally to your location, works no matter where they are. This tells me that if you wanted to, you could be all the way across the map, and which this has happened before. You could be all the way across the map, get downed. He pushes the special action button. There you go. You just lost your down. So as long as Kurogiri is playing safe, or he's in a safe spot, it's a guaranteed revive every time. Like, your teammates could arguably play in a very reckless fashion, and as long as Kurogiri is being safe and cautious, they're safe every time because of this. Like, this guy's A tier. I can say that with confidence. The final character, I believe, is our boy Overhaul, which I put him in B tier. I put Overhaul in B tier, mainly because he's a grounded character, and even though yeah he does have his alphas that can attack in the air, they're not the most reliable. He feels like a character that is situational. He can still dominate, by the way. I feel like I always have to say that. He's a character who can still dominate depending on the circumstance, but he can also get his butt kicked, no matter, whether he got a special action on standby or not. I don't really know what changes you can make to this guy to make it where he would be an A tier pick, because it's like you would typically want to play this guy where you would just simply use Gamma to trap them. You could do double Gamma and get big boy damage, or you can go ahead and do Gamma Alpha and still, hold on to that other Gamma to use to catch the wake up and stuff like that. So you have different ways you can play him. You can use Beta to catch wake ups and stuff like that. I think this character still has, a decently strong kit, but him being limited to the ground in the world where we're pretty much in Rapid Season 2.0, it makes it where this character can struggle, I feel like. If he doesn't have his Gamma on standby to go ahead and help him out, I feel like this character can get bullied very quickly. It's really his Gamma and his special action that keeps this guy in the competition, I feel like. So, at least that's my thoughts. So I put him in B tier, because he feels like a situationally strong character. And with that being said, that is my full entire tier list. So let me go and show it off right here. Let you guys see the tier list. This is both heroes and villains, and here's everywhere I would rank them at. So looking at it, yeah, I think that who needs help like really badly, I would say Strike Endeavor and Tech Dabi. They could use some help, as soon as possible, I feel like. But every character that is like B tier and above is, they're decently good, depending on the circumstance, or they're just flat out broken if they're like, A tier or S tier even. Endeavor and Dabi, I hope they get some help. At least that's my opinion. I think they definitely need it. They're not bad. I should mention that none of these characters are bad. It's just that for them, it's much more of a specific scenario where those characters can prosper compared to other characters in this game in this current season. So, with that being said, that's my tier list. I'm done. I gotta make sure I get this out for you guys today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to smash that like button, the subscribe button, and those notification bells. Also, tell me what you guys think about my tier list down below in the comments. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts, what y'all agree with, what y'all disagree with, what you guys personally think about this meta. Let me know. I would love to hear about it. And with that being said, I'm gonna get on out of here and get working on the next video for you guys. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later.